We went all the way to shocks. Speed shocks.
Having 4 interchangeable shocks. These are position-sensitive shocks that are very progressive throughout the wheel travel. Shocks are now located on lower air. Also, what does it do? As you increase your travel and you look at where a full bump is, we have a most positive rising rate suspension in the industry right from the get-go. So it makes our shocks a lot easier to work, and we're not asking too much out of our valving. My father and myself, we have been in the shock industry for years. We built our own shocks back in the early 80s, early 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020s. We've been in the shock business for a long time. They're definitely not standard, and there's nothing like it in the UTV industry as of today. These are going to be some of the most adjustable shocks ever provided on a production UTV. So this is one of the shocks that we modeled off of. I actually originally built these shocks back in the day. When I tell you when they're built, you're going to say, what? These were built in 1994. I built them for Marks Post 4-wheel drive. And as you can see here, the reservoir spins 360 degrees. Universal suspension components. We talked about this last week. Upper A-arms, lower A-arms, shock.
Different valving shocks. Got some technology there. We're waiting on a couple new patents that will keep us leader again. Shock Therapy will like this because we don't need limit straps.
But even more weird to me is the shocks are sitting here and there's nothing holding them up and down. It also tied our intrusion bars into the front shocks, which really shared the load all the way front to back in the car. The shocks are mounted in the middle of a tube, and obviously from the experience I've had, if you mount a shock in the middle of the tube, you're asking for a lot of force, bump force with the valving, and also spring force with the spring. And then if you bottom the thing out, you go solid, you take a lot of force right in the middle of a tube. Shock absorbers, these are position sensitive speed shocks. They're increasing spring rate, secondary spring rate, valving, compression, rebound, low speed and high speed, and adjustable in the reservoir. I got to be honest, guys, I don't see you taking these shocks off and taking them to a shock aftermarket company and having them work on it. These shocks will be able to handle 300 pounds of nitrogen. So prototype shocks, we showed you CAD, but these are now actual components. These shocks are actually an upgrade up from what's on the uniform. People ask, well, why does it matter if your shocks are lower? Well, if a shock weighs 50 pounds with a spring on it and I lower it 3 inches, I have a 3-inch lower center of gravity than your Polaris, and I probably have a 10 or 15-inch lower center of gravity than your Can-Am. So we have optimized the package and have given you guys the best package in the industry. These got production shocks on it.
But the other big thing that separates us is the shocks. Now our speed shocks, internal bypass, have, I think we've got over 19 stages in the front right now. It just floats down, ready to go again. That jump was no big deal.
All the updates to the shocks have been done. So you got an extra $8,000 to $9,000 in shocks and springs versus a basic damper that's on a car. If you were to go purchase those shocks, they're going to be about $2,200 each without spring. Our own shocks, our own tires, our own wheels, our own axles. And it does have the orange coilover shock. These shocks were out before Fox ever even thought of internal bypasses. But speed shocks are here. Unicorns over there. Real shocks, internal bypass. Or, you know, we can make it better for the sand by having stiffer shocks on it. But those are all different things.